That's right, they're selling puff adder resistant gloves now. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to look at some more incredible viral venomous snake TikToks. I'm going to break them down in the most educational way I possibly can, and as always, I'm hoping to hear from you in the comments. Let's dive in.
Premium gloves. Glove test on puff adder. There we go. Nothing.
I love how outraged the puff adder was. You could tell it was completely indignant. It had never been handled like that in its life, probably. This is a video someone suggested of Mike Perry from African Reptiles and Venom handling a puff adder to demonstrate the bite-resistant gloves that they sell. I hadn't known really much about these gloves before until I looked into it, and apparently they are guaranteed for one bite or one incident like that. So they're basically on the same level as a bulletproof vest in kind of the guarantee that they give them. What do we think? Was that real or was it a filter? I know what I think. What an incredibly dumb thing to do. I'm not sure why you'd kiss what looked like a spectacled cobra on the head. I see a lot of people do that trick with king cobras, which aren't really even cobras, they're a different snake altogether. And the thing is, a king cobra, when its hood is flared, I've said this many times, it's kind of rigid. It's a rigid snake anyway overall. It's kind of like a stiff, weird animal. That's not a very scientific description. But anyway, it's not incredibly flexible, and when its hood is flared, it really can't strike upwards very well, so you can kiss it on the head, and people do tricks with it like David Blaine did. A spectacled cobra, though, is much more flexible, so it just turned around and bit him. So that was a false water cobra. They're quite popular over here in the UK. I don't know how popular they are in the States, but they're just an amazing, awesome looking snake. They get quite large. I don't really have the room for one myself, but I'd definitely be tempted. They're mildly venomous, like rear-fanged, but their feeding response is just so much more fun than the feeding response you get from ball pythons.
Hi, today I'd like to talk about feeding false water cobras. One common mistake people make when keeping false water cobras is trying to feed them like they would a boa or a python. This species has a much faster metabolism and they don't stretch as well. While they can take larger prey items, trying to eat something that large adds stress. So you'll want to feed them smaller meals more frequently. Felina here gets a weaned rat once a week, and in between those times she gets tilapia. Okay, this is one of the things that makes false water cobras a bit different and, in my opinion, a little more fun.
That is interesting. Sound like some good information there. It also makes me wonder how their feeding routine compares to that of crebos and indigo snakes, which are another large colubrid. Right, this next clip is a really fun one. It's another one someone suggested. It's Kevin Hewlett just finding basically like a massive boomslang infestation, really. There's no other way to describe it, and even he calls it an infestation.
There's a boomslang right there. There he goes, right up there. I don't know how well you can see it. There's a big boomslang. That's crazy. There's one up there. There's one moving right there. Look here, check the snake. Check the size of these. There's two here. There's two boomslang right here. And a third one here.
He starts off by spotting a few, then he spots a few more, and then finally finds something very, very interesting near the end.
Gently in there with her buddies.
Even in a video, I think that's the first time I've seen a bucket full of boomslang.
Right, let's get the snake out, and I'll feel more comfortable putting my hand in there. There we go. Okay, and there's another one. Okay, oh no, we got a lot of eggs in there, guys. potentially 2 clutches. Okay, there's a lot of eggs in there, you guys, and I don't want to go sticking my hand in there yet. Take a look at that. There's some beautiful boomslang eggs in here.
So, what do we think is happening here? It's an infestation of boomslang, minding their own business most of the time, but still. What we've got really overall is a property which is snake heaven, even for arboreal snakes. There's fences to climb on, there's broken walls, there's walls to lay their eggs in, there's bushes, there's trees, there's every kind of nook and cranny, hunting ground, prey micro-habitat, you name it. Everything a boomslang could possibly want is on this property. And this is a really good video to look at. I mean, on his channel the video is much longer, so you can watch the whole thing there. But it's a good thing to think about, because people often say, well, I don't like killing snakes, but they come on my property and I have to keep my family safe, so I kill a few a year. You know, and people often say this about rattlesnakes and snakes like that. And honestly, I can say that on a property like that, unless you make some major changes to the property and clear away some of the stuff, the snakes will keep coming back again and again and again and again. You can't wipe out a whole country's worth of snakes. If they like your property, they will come back. That furry-looking snake monster was actually identified as a puff-faced water snake, which is a mostly harmless, mildly venomous water snake from Southeast Asia. And honestly, if I hadn't been told, I would never have got that. I don't know if there's anyone watching who got it before being told what it was, but no, I had no idea. It's just a puff-faced water snake with algae growing on it.
These snakes scare me.
We're about to milk the eastern brown, which is arguably the most dangerous snake species in Australia.
He's a wild boy.
Ooh, that is a big snake. Oh boy, yeah, no, he does not look real happy, does he?
These guys are renowned for just going crazy.
It's
Also,
interesting the way he curls his body into, ooh, that was close. You okay? You good?
yeah. All right.
Okay, you good?
All good. He's not even the craziest. He's one of the quietest eastern browns we've got.
I mean, that was probably the most intense, fastest move I've ever seen a human make. He was all the way up by your face when he swung his body up. That was insanity.
He came mouth open at my face like, these things do not muck around.
What Bill Collett just did there, pulling the tail away at an angle, moving his face another way, and getting the snake away from him before it managed to get him. You literally could only do that if you have very good reflexes and you know snakes and the way they move very, very well. Either one of those components, if you don't have, you'd get bitten in the face, and that would be a major medical incident, even with the anti-venom on hand. That's a pretty incredible clip, and I can tell Cody Peterson was glad it wasn't him holding it. By the way, if you do enjoy this video, please do subscribe. I usually say that because it makes me happy when people subscribe, but this time I'm saying it because YouTube has recently changed its algorithm and how it serves up the videos to people. So if you see this video in your feed today, if you don't subscribe, you might not see the channel again.
We're going to have to crack these open and get a better look at them. So let's start off with this one, because I own this one. The other one I did not buy. It's actually my friend's, but I'll be showing it off regardless, because it's a beautiful snake. Look at this little dude. That is freaking gorgeous. I don't know how it can be this pretty. It has reds, oranges, blues, greens. It's so freaking awesome. Talk about a little dragon. Look at that scalation on the head. Holy crap. And how the light hits it determines what colors you're seeing the most. Just absolutely beautiful. Now, they do have a pretty sharp little venom. You don't really want to get tagged by them. Trust me, I've seen it firsthand from another person. It looked real bad. This one, venom isn't quite as bad. Very beautiful snake. They are from South America and Central America. This is the eyelash viper. It's named that because it has little raised scales above the eye that I do speculate would actually break up the outline of the eye, so it makes it a better ambush predator as it sits on a flower, hoping that a bird gets just a little bit too close.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say he's correct about that. What I would say from that clip though is that overall, I think the bush viper is a bit cooler than eyelash vipers. I know there's going to be some people that disagree with me, but just an amazing animal. They're an amazing, we think, relatively primitive viper from the Viperidae. or the Viperinae subfamily of the viperids, and they are just amazingly beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Look at that. Wow, look at the horns. She didn't hurt him at all in the shipping. I say she, could be a he. But I think it's a she. Wow, that's like, in a different way, they're just as pretty, but the heads are incredible on it. Oh, this is the boy. Pretty sure. Whoa. These have the longest fangs. Ooh. Ooh, that's a loud boy.
Incredibly beautiful West African gaboon viper. Now this species, there's two species of gaboon viper. I confuse them all the time, and I confuse lots of stuff because they are the West African gaboon viper. They've got rhinoceros in their Latin name, or their binomial, and some people are calling them rhino vipers, even though there's another snake which is called the rhinoceros viper. For a dyslexic person like me, that's just a nightmare. Oh, and their venom is horrendous as well.
Look at this beautiful snake. This is an Usambara bush viper, Ateris ceratophora. After looking for it for days and days and days, and actually spending almost our entire trip last time trying to find this animal, we finally found one in a new location, really close to this lake right here. What a beautiful, beautiful snake. Emerald green eyes, gorgeous little eyelashes upon its face, and a really, really nice and striking pattern. I think it's one of the prettiest ones you can find out here.
Perhaps not as vibrant in colour as the variable bush viper, but it's still an incredibly beautiful animal, and you can see that kind of ancient look. You can just tell it's an ancient, primitive lineage of snakes.
Look at that belly. Hi. So I'm going to try angle like this, but take a look at this beautiful belly on this boom slang. I've got to be very careful because these snakes tend to reverse and they fall over, and you can see it's gone into the trees there, just as the name suggests. There you go, go this side. There you go. So we've got a beautiful boom slang right here, and they got such vibrant colors, and this one especially is absolutely exquisite. This is drop for drop Africa's most venomous snake, packed with a very powerful hemotoxin, requiring very little to kill an adult human. So small, you can barely even see that amount with the naked eye.
Wild Marek giving us some good educational content there on the Burm slang. I've been trying to pronounce the name of that snake better week by week. I think it's Burmslang. I don't know. Someone South African will probably comment and rip on me, but one day I'll get a compliment on it. Why? Why just sit playing with a snake that's venomous and is probably annoyed and probably going to want to bite you? That was another classic error that I've seen several times in these videos. The snake had a little bit of its body pushing on the ground. So when you try and drop a snake and it's got some of its body on the ground, it's got something to push off of, and that allows it to twist and turn. It's just simple mechanical thing, really. If he'd have been hanging it above the ground and dropped it, which you wouldn't want to do anyway because that's quite mean, then he might have been okay.
Compare the speed and precision of the strike from a venomous stiletto snake. How incredible is that?
Stiletto snakes are incredible. The speed. I did a video on the fastest striking snakes in the world, and a couple of people said, well, what about stiletto snakes? The reason I didn't include them is because we don't have any data on their strike, and also their strike isn't usually a classic point A to point B strike like with, vipers and mambas and stuff like that. It's just kind of a wild stab or a swing, so it's really hard to measure. And the answer is it the fastest striking snake? I honestly don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know.
This is a stiletto snake, and check out the teeth. They live underground. They're sometimes called mole vipers, and those teeth allow them to strike and deliver venom without actually opening their mouth. They're not huge snakes. There's around 20 species depending on who you ask, and the size range goes between around 30 centimeters and 80 centimeters. So they're less than a meter long. They live underground. They're burrowers with no notable necks, and they have extremely modified skulls. And those teeth are so dangerous because they don't actually need to open their mouth. Instead, they can extend them outwards and just kind of thrash their head around to stab and deliver that venom, which the venom itself unique too. This actually delivers a cytotoxin that essentially causes your tissue to degrade really quickly. You can find pictures on the internet. And just to give you a less graphic idea of what I'm talking about here, the pictures, they show like the eventual loss of a finger due to the, again, not really even a bite, technically just a stab. There is no bite involved.
That was good educational content, as always, from Zeke Darwin's Science. He packed some pretty good info in there, so I don't really need to say too much more. But what he was trying to say in a nice way about the cytotoxic venom was that basically, if one of them gets you on the finger, you will have to watch your finger slowly melt away over the period of a couple of days. And while it melts away, it will feel like it's on fire, burning inside. It's probably like a new definition of pain, basically. Not a very nice snake to work with, and not one I'd ever want to deal with personally. They're too slippery and tiny and quick and just mean little critters, basically.
You know, when it comes to venomous snakes in the United States, rattlesnakes are basically looked at as the big baddies. That's the one that everyone really kind of fears. Well, I really don't know how to say this, but pretty much every snake in the United States looks at rattlesnakes as a snack. Indigos, no problem at all. That's like their favorite thing to eat. And this rattlesnake definitely knows that. Pretty much any king snake, I mean, they're literally called king snakes because they eat other snakes primarily, and rattlesnakes are no exception. They will eat them, and they'll take bites from them, and they won't care. But here's what you didn't know. Black racers, oh, they love rattlesnakes too. And they don't discriminate on the rattlesnake species either. So if you live in the United States and you see a black snake, more often than not, it's going to eat rattlesnakes if they're in the area. So just leave them alone.
This is all true. Rattlesnakes, compared to other snakes, are not very tough. They have very nasty venom for us humans and us mammals because their venom is designed to pre-digest and kill mammals like the rodents that they feed on. And they also have that scary rattling sound, we think, because it was a way to warn large ungulates, like buffalo for example, from stepping on them. So yes, they sound scary, yes their venom's scary, but that's for us mammals. They're not scary to other reptiles.
This is Thea's viper. It's native to areas in Southeast Asia, including Vietnam, China, and Tibet. There's actually two species, the white-headed and the black-headed Thea's viper, and both of them do look very cool. They are rather elusive and quite rare to see, so not a lot is known about them. However, they are under least concern since they do have a very wide range. They are, like all viper species, quite venomous, and while they're not the most venomous, you still don't want to get bit by them. There is one compound found in the venom that does block certain receptors in the muscles, so not a very good time. Despite the fact that they are venomous like all vipers, there is a demand for them in the exotic pet trade. While this currently does not have any noticeable effect on the population, it could contribute in the future. However, they are still under least concern now. That being said, venomous snakes do not make good pets, so don't get venomous snakes as pets, please.
The Thea's viper is an absolutely fascinating species, or pair of species as I should say. I think the first specimen of the white-headed species was collected by an Italian explorer named Leonardo Fea, if I remember that correctly. And what makes them fascinating is that they are a primitive species. So in their body, in their morphology and anatomy, they have these ancestral traits, these ancestral features, which give us a clue to what the ancestors of vipers looked like millions of years ago. They've got smooth, large scales on their head, smooth scales on the body, and they're oviparous, so they lay eggs. It's very, very interesting to see these traits in a viper species still living today. Now, up until recently, we actually thought they were one of the most primitive vipers of all, and perhaps one of like the living ancestors of all vipers. But due to molecular studies, we can now say that they are a sister taxon to the pit vipers, the Crotolinae subfamily of the Viperidae family. So they're kind of very, very close to what the ancient ancestor of pit vipers would have looked like. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please do come back next week. I'll be here. Thank you very much.